The world premiere trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows has broken a big record. It is the most disliked trailer in the franchise's history. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And the official world premiere of the trailer on Ubisoft's YouTube channel has 7.1 million views, 265,000 likes, and over 595,000 dislikes. Will not be surprised if it reaches over 600,000 by the end of today. And that is the most disliked trailer in Assassin's Creed history. If we just go back and look at some of the more recent world premieres, you can see Assassin's Creed Mirage here. World premiere of 8.7 million views since it was released back in September 2022. It has only 9,700 dislikes compared to 229,000 likes. So way different there. Only not even 10,000 dislikes compared to the almost 600,000 that we're seeing for Shadows. If we go back to Valhalla, you can see it has 325,000 likes and just 15, that should be 15,000 dislikes. Right there, you can see 15,000. And then we go back further to Odyssey back in 2018, only 8,600 dislikes. And then even Origins only has 10,000 dislikes. So 600,000, nearly 600,000. Obviously, the record for the most disliked Assassin's Creed world premiere trailer. As far as why people are disliking it, it seems much of the pushback is because the game is featuring Yasuke as a playable character. He's a historical figure of African descent in the game that is set in Japan. And they chose him, apparently, rather than a male Japanese samurai. Usually when Ubisoft makes Assassin's Creed games, they pick characters from the country of origin. You can look at Valhalla, you can look at Odyssey, you can look at Assassin's Creed 3, you can look at Assassin's Creed 2, you can look at the first Assassin's Creed. Usually the characters are from the location where the game is set, whether that be an Arab, as in the first Assassin's Creed game that is set in the Middle East, whether that is an Italian, as it's set in Italy in Assassin's Creed 2, whether that is a Native American set in Assassin's Creed 3. He's actually, I think he's like a Native American, and he's mixed, so he's like colonial and Native American, and it's set in kind of colonial America. And then Assassin's Creed 4 is obviously Edward Kenway. He's a pirate, British pirate, so in the kind of Caribbean. And then I don't know, Odyssey. Obviously, you have Greeks. Valhalla, you have Norse, and Origins. I believe you have an Egyptian man. And then I think in Mirage they go back to the Middle East, and I believe they go back to the Middle East, and he is an Arab. So that's usually how it goes. In Shadows here, they have an African, and then they do have a Japanese woman in Naue as kind of the female Japanese. But this is kind of the first time where they have someone who's not of the country or location of origin that the game is set in. Even if you go back to Syndicate and you had the kind of the double protagonists, you still had they're both from the United Kingdom. So two of the top comments are, I don't know if they're from Japanese people, Japanese players, or if they are just people posting in Japanese, but they are posted in Japanese. And it said, and this one reads, European and American game companies, in order to avoid racial discrimination, Black characters must be included in games to ensure the diversity of characters and subvert stereotypes. The same European and American game companies, we decided to put a Black samurai in a game with a Japanese background. His mission is to kill various Asians. Thank you, Ubi, obviously dripping with sarcasm. The other says, if this is true, if there is even a slight mention in a country's history books that Black people existed at a certain time in history, all the main characters in games set in that country will be Black. There is a possibility. Again, appears that that is sarcastic as well. And then you have three others here. It says, it's kind of funny. You should have cast a Black protagonist in Assassin's Creed Unity set in France instead of Sengoku, Japan. Another says it's no good to expand on a person like Yasuke, who is only recording in documents that are less than a few pages long, and turn it into historical fact. A company that practices political correctness can openly discriminate against Japanese people. And another writes, discrimination against Black people? Absolutely not. Black people have been replaced by white people. Now they are trying to repeat the same mistake by targeting Asians. So, this idea that the game is kind of historical based is coming from the game's associate narrative director, Brooke Davies. She said this in a subsequent trailer. Let's just kind of take a listen here to what she has to say.
The historical character of Yasuke presented a really exciting opportunity for the narrative team. We approached it in the same way that so much of the work is done in Assassin's Creed, which is really in terms of research and history first.
So there you go. She is clearly saying that Ubisoft and her team approached it with research and history first. However, she goes on to add this.
A lot is known about him, but what we do know, is that he arrived in Japan in 1579, right when our game starts, and that he had relationships with some of the most interesting people in our setting, like Oda Nobunaga, the Portuguese, and Jesuits, which made it very sort of tantalizing and enticing from a narrative perspective to come in and start weaving these facts with story in between.
So I think it's pretty clear that the only reason why they chose him was because he's Black, because you could have had all of those connections that they're saying that he had through with a Japanese man. I think you could have a Japanese man obviously having connections with Oda Nobunaga, with the Jesuits, with the Portuguese. It's not hard to do that. Again, they've done this with their previous games, right? You obviously the one that I played the most was Assassin's Creed 2. I think that's the pinnacle of the game, of the game's franchise. Obviously, Assassin's Creed 4 is up there as well, but with Ezio, I mean, he's running into all kinds of historical figures, whether that's in Constantinople, whether that's in Rome, or whether that is in Florence, and you can play with that. So I disagree with this idea that the reason why they chose him is because he is this historical figure. Usually, you don't play historical figures; you play a fictional character as an ancestor, because obviously they're supposed to be an assassin who's kind of in the shadows, and that's the whole point. You go into the animus to try and find the information that your ancestor has hidden, and that's why you have to find certain people that have that kind of like genetic connection with their ancestors, and now they're like actually using a historical figure. They're kind of going away from their entire script in the game, and I don't know if they've changed that, but that's how it used to be. So I don't know if they changed that in recent games. Obviously, haven't played anything since Odyssey, and then I felt like it wasn't really an Assassin's Creed game at that point. It was kind of just like a Skyrim clone with an Assassin's Creed skin kind of over top of it, set in Greece. Really didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game with very little stealth or anything like that. But so I think the criticisms are justified. I think people are indeed expressing that. I think this game is going to have a hard road to hoe when it comes to profitability. We've seen games that kind of disabuse themselves of their original identity don't tend to do well. I'm thinking of like, what is it, Battlefield recently was talking about how the game was going to be authentic to the historical setting, and then you have like a woman with like a cybernetic arm on like the front of the poster and all this like ridiculous stuff, and then they started gaslighting fans. So I can see Assassin's Creed Shadows going down the route of Battlefield. Obviously, we've also seen numerous games injecting their franchises with woke ideology. I think the most prominent being Saints Row and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The development team company behind Saints Row no longer exists now. Embracer Group shut Volition down. And in fact, Embracer Group, the parent company, has made it clear that they will no longer exist in the future. They're separating the company into 3 different entities moving forward. And then obviously Warner Brothers revealed recently in one of their most recent financial reports that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has lost over $200 million for the company. So I think the fact that we're seeing 600,000, almost 600,000 dislikes for Assassin's Creed Shadows does not bode well for Ubisoft. And I think they might actually know that. We did see a report late last week that they have kind of lowered their expectations for the future. And we've seen a number of analysts significantly decrease their predictions for the entire fiscal year for Ubisoft, lowering it by 12.5% in one analyst's case. Obviously, that is with the idea that this game, as well as Star Wars Outlaws, will release in the next fiscal year. And I think that seems to indicate that maybe sales numbers for these games might not be as strong as what they once thought they would be, given the massive amount of backlash from fans, from players on both of those games, as well as kind of just Ubisoft in general. They really have bad business practices and how they deal with players. But let me know what you guys make of this Assassin's Creed Shadows world premiere trailer, breaking the record for most disliked Assassin's Creed trailer of all time. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable to each other, but to always speak the truth.